I'm Sonal. I'll be talking about genetic algorithm, which is a bio-inspired computing technique. I'll also be talking about the applications of genetic algorithm in the field of medicine. But before we proceed with these applications, let's first have a brief discussion regarding genetic algorithms. What is genetic algorithm? Well, the word genetic is definitely related with its root word gene. Hence, genetics is a branch of biology concerned with the study of genes, genetic variation, and heredity in organisms. Let's have an in-depth discussion about genetic algorithms.
Let's start with the famous quote by Charles Darwin.
It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change.
You must be thinking, what has this quote got to do with genetic algorithm? Let us understand with a basic example. Let's take a hypothetical situation where you are head of the country, and in order to keep your city safe from bad things, you implement a policy like this. You select all the good people and ask them to extend their generation by having their children. This repeats for a few generations. You will notice that now you have an entire population of good people. So the basic idea was that we change the input, which is the population, such that we get better output, which is a better country. Now, you have got some intuition that the concept of the genetic algorithm is somewhat related to biology. So let us quickly grasp some little concepts about biology, so that later we can draw a parallel line between them. All organisms are composed of one or more cells. Cells are the basic building block of all living things. Inside the nucleus of each cell, thread-like structures called chromosomes can be found, which are composed of DNA molecules. A DNA molecule is tightly packed around proteins called histones to make up chromosomes. It is a long, coiled double helix that resembles a spiral staircase. The main role of DNA in the cell is the long-term storage of information. It is often compared to a blueprint, since it contains the instructions to construct other components of the cell, such as proteins and RNA molecules. A gene is a segment of DNA that provides the code to construct a protein. Let's get back to the example we discussed earlier and summarize what we did. Firstly, we defined our initial population as our countrymen. We defined a function to classify whether a person is good or bad. Then we selected good people for mating to produce their offsprings. And finally, these offsprings replace the bad people from the population, and this process repeats. This is how genetic algorithm actually works, which basically tries to mimic the human evolution to some extent. To formalize our definition of a genetic algorithm, we can say that it is a method for solving optimization problems that is based on natural selection, the process that drives biological evolution. Here is a summary of the processes involved in genetic algorithm. To make things easier, let us understand it by the famous knapsack problem. Let's say, you are going to spend a month in the wilderness. The only thing you are carrying is the backpack, which can hold a maximum weight of 30 kilograms. Now you have different survival items, each having its own survival points. Your objective is maximize the survival points. Let's start with initialization, which is the first step in genetic algorithm. Our first step would be defining our population, which will contain individuals, each having their own set of chromosomes. We know that chromosomes are binary strings, where for this problem, 1 would mean that the following item is taken and 0 meaning that it is dropped. The next step in genetic algorithm is fitness calculation. Based on the table in our knapsack problem, let us calculate fitness points for our first 2 chromosomes. For A1 chromosome, the total weight would be 29 kilos and survival points would be 28. For a 2 chromosome, the total weight would be 16 kilos and survival points would be 23. So, for this problem, our chromosome will be considered as more fit when it contains more survival points. Therefore, chromosome 1 is more fit than chromosome 2. The next step is selection. Now, we can select fit chromosomes from our population, which can mate and create their offsprings. There are various methods, but we will be using roulette wheel selection method. General thought is that we should select the fit chromosomes and allow them to produce offsprings. But that would lead to chromosomes that are more close to one another in a few next generation, and therefore less diversity. In order to avoid this, we will be using the roulette wheel selection method. Consider a wheel. And let's divide that into several divisions equivalent to the number of chromosomes in our population. The area occupied by each chromosome will be proportional to its fitness value. Based on these values, let us create our roulette wheel. So, now this wheel is rotated and the region of wheel which comes in front of the fixed point is chosen as the parent. The next step is crossover. In the previous step, we have selected parent chromosomes that will produce offsprings. So in biological terms, crossover is nothing but reproduction. Let us find the crossover of chromosome 1 and 4, which were selected in the previous step. One-point crossover is the most basic form of crossover. Here we select a random crossover point and the tails of both the chromosomes are swapped to produce a new offsprings. If you take two crossover points, then it will called as multi-point crossover. The last step is mutation. Mutation is defined as a random tweak in the chromosome that promotes the idea of diversity in the population. During the growth of children, there is some change in the genes of these children which makes them have different traits from their parents. The offsprings thus produced are again validated using our fitness function, and if considered fit then will replace the less fit chromosomes from the population, else the process would be reiterated. But the question is how we will get to know that we have reached our best possible solution? So basically there are different termination conditions. There is no improvement in the population for over X iterations. We have already predefined an absolute number of generation for our algorithm. When our fitness function has reached a predefined value, if any of these conditions are met, then we have reached our best possible solution. The offsprings thus produced would be considered as more fit individuals that will replace the less fit ones in our population. Genetic algorithm has various applications, which include robotics, diagnosis of diseases, and traffic routing. In this video, the role of genetic algorithm in diagnosis diseases would be explored.
Now that we already have some idea about GA, let's tackle about these different applications in the field of medicine. Genetic algorithm can help in the prediction of different diseases, such as brain tumor, cancer, and cardiovascular diseases. GA can be used in combination with other algorithms, such as those in relation to image segmentation and neural network algorithms. Firstly, let's see how brain tumor can be detected using GA. Currently, when segmentation is applied to medical artifacts, unintended effects such as poor image contrast and artifacts usually occur in the image. Having such poor quality of image results to missing or diffused tissue boundaries. This makes image segmentation in the field of medicine a challenging issue. Authors Purnima, Queen, and Revathi discuss how GE can be used in an unsupervised way in the segmentation of images. In their study, they used MRI brain images as dataset. The discrete wavelet descriptor is initially used for enhancement of these images, followed by the application of GE to detect tumor pixels. The resulting image is a segmented image with 4 clusters: white matter, gray matter, CSF, and red colored tumor. The proposed algorithm achieved signal-to-noise ratio or SNR from 20 to 44 and segmentation accuracy from 89% to 97% of detected tumor pixels based on ground truth. Another study attempted to classify cancer types based on microarray data through GA combined with support vector machine algorithm. Authors Peng and others discuss about the need of developing a mechanism that can identify multiple types of cancer based from biological data of genes. The study intended to employ feature reduction and identification of discriminant genes to yield a compressed biologically relevant predictive gene set. Based on the results, the proposed algorithm was either comparable or outperformed the previous techniques. The results show that the combination of GA algorithm with support vector machine is beneficial to microarray data analysis due to its higher accuracy of classifying cancer-relevant predictive genes. A few studies narrowed down the prediction of only a certain type of cancer, specifically lung cancer. Authors Ode, Atom, and Bustanji discuss about the need of a system that allows the detection of diseases earlier so as to find appropriate medical treatment or precaution for it. Waikato Environment for Knowledge Analysis, or the so-called WECA software, was used for this study. GA was fed with initial population from this data, followed by calculation of fitness function, selection, crossover, and mutation of genes. An accuracy of 84% was reached, which was higher than the previous algorithm's 81% accuracy. A similar study was conducted by Diaz, Pinon, and Solano, in which lung cancer was diagnosed through genes. But in their proposed algorithm, GA was combined with support vector machine and artificial neural network algorithm separately, and a comparison was made between the two algorithms. Based on the results, GA combined with support vector machine algorithm obtained an overall prediction accuracy rate of 95.87% and an average accuracy rate of 91.16%, which was higher when GA was combined with artificial neural network algorithm that achieved an overall prediction accuracy rate of 93.66% and an average accuracy rate of 84.75%. Aside from prediction of brain tumor and cancer, GA can also be used to help in the diagnosis of cardiovascular diseases. Authors Nikam, Shukla, and Shah created a system which would consider visible risk factors such as age, family history, diabetes, hypertension, alcohol intake, high cholesterol, tobacco smoking, obesity or physical inactivity, and similar factors as the basis of determining the presence or potential of contracting a cardiovascular disease in a person. The result of this system is a binary output stating whether or not the individual would contract heart disease. So, based on our discussion, we saw how GA can be applied in the field of medicine, specifically for predicting different types of diseases. But there is still a lot more to discuss about GA, which we will tackle in the upcoming videos. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.